All right. Welcome, everyone. This is our teen reading. I'm so excited to allow you guys to hear this incredible work. I'm the youth coordinator at the Muse. I'm also a graduate student at Columbia, but more importantly, I'm a youth coordinator at the Muse. I love my job. I love teaching. I am just really blown away by the caliber of work I've been lucky enough to read and engage with and offer some feedback on. I'm very confident that every single writer I've encountered in the course of the last few months is going to go on, if they wish, to publish a whole ton of books and be a household name, if that's something they want, because the talent in this fake room is just spectacular. So I'm so excited. Let's get started. We're just going to go through and everyone's going to share about 3 to 5 minutes of their work. Feel free to jump in on the chat if you wish to respond. But now let's jump in to why we're all here with a reading by Daniel. Take it away, Daniel.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Dan. I'm going to be reading a couple poetry pieces today. This first piece is called Life in an Hourglass. We lose the days like grains of sand. Step to our clothes, our hair, a grit that clings to our lips, finds its way into our eyes and ears, which falls through fingers cupped to catch the absent things, falls to our feet, and digs its toes into us. We shift, struggle, and it grips. Our ankles, our knees can't move like we used to. Our hips, our chest can't breathe. Can't breathe. Thank you. That was Life in an Hourglass. Hope that was smooth. This next piece is called Moon's Progeny. As day retreats, we welcome that which swallows beauty whole. Here is dusk, who burns away secrets and all semblance of solitude, who dies like a candle in the ashes of the sun. Here is night, who nurtures and reveals what is lacking, whose trembling touch evokes memories of flame. Here is twilight, who writhes and struggles in the arms of her mother against a light that consumes, against a morning that conceals once more. Thank you. That was Moon's Progeny. We're halfway there. Um, this next piece is called Hereafter. Dead birds fly on tomorrow's wings. I know not when, but soon they will take roost in a place we cannot go. Yesterday's trees follow in their wake. An exodus of greenery and empty nests, shambling in wrought step formation to take root in a promised land. Beasts of then and now go too, treading softly. Paws put to prayer, to pavement, to passing on, to a path lined with loose feathers, animal bones, and seeds. Silent, but for the creak of absence. Thank you. That was Hereafter. We got one more. This one's a fun one. This last one is called Matrimony of the Mind. This one's a lot of fun. Okay. Torn between duty and disdain, their dreams dance delicately, drawing lines in skin and sand as days do drift. Deep detachment, curdling to disregard, as dubiously they deify divorce. sweet nothings, soured and salted until self-satisfying savagery stains a sober sorrow. And what remains is sardonic silence. But my walls are thin, and I hear what goes unsaid between them. Thank you. That was all of my poetry.
Thank you so much, Daniel. That was absolutely gorgeous. And you had such a way of reading your work too, which made those like really, really beautiful lines and images that much stronger. I'm sure if you check in with the chat, you'll see you got a lot of excellent feedback. So thank you so much. Now we will move on to our second reader, Kristen, who I am lucky enough to teach. So take it away.
Hi, my name is Kristen Tan, and today I will be reading you something in between a prose poem and a short story, something like that. Just vibes, honestly, but it's called Worlds in the Summer. I hope you like it. Okay. The sun singes the edges of the clouds when they come near. It blisters your skin just to make sure you know it doesn't burn for you, even if you burn for it. The world rolls down your neighborhood street and you wear down the soles of your rubber shoes, of your rubber sneakers on the faded gray crags of the asphalt while chasing after it. It sneaks through the space between the steel post and the broken chain link net of your neighbor's fence. Maybe a decade ago, you'd be able to crawl after it and squeeze yourself through that space. Maybe a decade from now, you knock on your neighbor's door and ask if you can go grab it and apologize before you pick it out of the bushes of their backyard. But today, a decade too early and a decade too late, the sun has put its first burn on your indecisiveness as you hold it in your left hand. You consider waiting for it to melt away, but you know that you'd melt first. You leave the world behind and stand on the street in front of your house, trying to forget about it. Maybe you can just make a new one. Maybe it'll be better, less slippery, too. Or maybe that world was just fine, but your hands were too sweaty to hold it and your feet too slow to catch it. Maybe you'll make it out of sandstone and salt water. When the fish grow their lungs and drag themselves away from home, they'll find sandcastles waiting for them on the shore. When they grow their feet, they'll stomp on their castles and throw the remnants back to sea. They'll build their cities out of stone and their suburbs out of vinyl, and maybe you'll just throw this world down the road yourself, ruined sandcastles and all. The fish just might learn how to swim again once they're in the shade of your neighbor's bush. Maybe you'll make it out of paper mache. You have some old newspaper in the recycling bin that you never emptied, and probably some decade-old Elmer's glue, and you think that's all you need for paper mache, right? The words will peel themselves off the page, covered in dried glue, but they'll get used to that eventually, and they'll teach themselves how to talk. They'll all live together in the sentences they woke up in, tucked neatly in their paragraph neighborhoods. The children's favorite game will be telephone, and all the adults will do is whisper. A third world to nestle in the shade of your neighbor's bush. The black ink is hard to see in the dark, and so this world rests until sunset, when the light hits it just right and the whispers rise again. You'd hear it every evening if you knew what to listen for, even over the sound of the cicadas and grasshoppers coming to life. Maybe you'll make it out of aluminum foil. The little balls of metal will build themselves into factories and manufacture themselves into products to stare at as they roll by on conveyor belts. They'll roll themselves together until they're all just clumps of soft metal hanging on to each other, and the one at the center is the only one with any control. Maybe your neighbor would notice four little worlds sitting under their bush and give them all back to you, and you wouldn't have to knock on their door at all. You're running out of ideas for materials. Beeswax, plywood, dried acrylic paint. The child in you proposes ice cream. 5, 6, 7 little worlds through that space in the fence with a trail of melted cream staining the crags of the asphalt. There'd be some stuck to the bottom of your shoe as well. You want to roll your eyes at the child within you, but you remember that they'd fit through the fence and that an ice cream world might work in winter. The sun is pinching your cheeks, leaving red marks like your aunts and uncles used to do. The back of the sole of your right shoe has come loose. You can wiggle it like your first baby tooth, almost ready for the fairy, for your parents to come as you sleep and leave $1 on your pillow, for you to make your first sale. The asphalt makes the rubber hot to the touch, and you wonder if it would melt and glue you to the street if you stood there in the gaze of the sun for long enough. You're tempted to try, but you think again that you'd melt away before the rubber would. You drop your indecision out of your left hand and walk to your neighbor's porch. Maybe a decade has passed, close enough to it, anyway. You tap your hand on the door 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. No answer. You glance at the bare concrete of your neighbor's driveway. No one's home. You turn around and walk across their yard to the gap in the chain link fence and the steel post it's meant to be attached to. Maybe a decade hasn't passed quite yet. You drop to your knees and grab the fence and the post, one in each hand as your elbows sink into the soil, thankful for the shade of your neighbor's bush for keeping the metal out of the sun's view, and pull them far apart as you can. You begin your crawl through, thinking that a world made of ice cream wouldn't be so bad. Thank you.
Wow, that was incredible, Kristen. I forgot that I should have been taking editorial notes, and I dropped out of the chat because you inhabited that voice so well, and this sort of like ruminating, I don't know, that specific tone that I think is really hard to capture, you managed to, and it just brought that piece to just life. I loved the like pull and tug of that. There were so many lines, and yeah, that was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. Great. Yeah, more snaps. Really excellent. And this is something I would encourage all of you to do if you're comfortable. After, you can definitely share your work with each other, so that we have, I mean, obviously being able to hear all of you read your work is great too, but I mean, I know that I want a copy of that also, of all of your work. So just after, feel free to email me and we can maybe put it up somewhere. Okay, great. So moving on to our third reader, we are going to hear from Millie, who I am also lucky enough to teach. Take it away.
Hi. Okay, so I will be reading I guess a short story I wrote. It's called Writer's Block. Okay. The rhythmic tap, tap, tap of her feet on the floor shakes the disintegrating desk, one of its legs slightly shorter than the other three, making for a slight incline and the necessity of holding her notebook tight to prevent it from slipping off onto the checkered tiles below. The pen which she flicks betwixt her fingers has not so much as touched the empty page, the only substance staining it a dab of chapstick that she religiously spreads across her lips so the skin does not crack from stale air. She sighs deeply in an attempt to soothe her racing heart. Unsuccessful. The daunting page smirks with empty eyes, so she tears it out and starts anew. What to do with the muddled mind? Words whirl in tight gusts of letters forced to entangle themselves on the page, so she pulls the strands apart delicately, careful not to tug too hard, and sentences trickle down like drops of rain out of a storm cloud. They bleed into the paper, staining it red and blue and gold. The words come easily once her mind opens. She only wishes they would ease her nerves. At least now a thick cloud blankets her thoughts like snow as the rhythm in her feet creates the beat she writes to. Tap, 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 they say. Tap, tap, tap. She wipes the sweat from her brow before it bleeds into her eyes. An orange appears in her pocket, small and round against her pant leg, so she sets down the pen to pull it out. Its shell is vibrant and gashed in places. She digs her nails into its center, pulling apart the peel in a single tear, ignoring the pulp that sticks to her fingers and under her nails. Acid burns her tongue, but the taste reminds her of the flowers that she would craft into crowns during the warm summer months. Summer. She'd nearly forgotten what sunshine felt like. How silly the concept of walls, blocking the sound of the sun's words from reaching her ears. Maybe then it would whisper exactly what to write so she could stop regretting and start creating. Or maybe it would remain silent, simply spreading its arms wide and pulling her close enough to taste red. The pen resumes its delicate waltz. Ink drains from its heart faster than she remembered, but its heartbeat is loud against her fingers, its pulse smooth and steady, dancing across the page like a cursive ballerina. A tiny spike in the monitor is all it takes for genius to strike. She smiles at a potent word and frowns when no synonyms for very fit the rhythm of the piece. What is the piece, anyways, other than a jumble of nerves and feelings messily translated into code? Why write? Why hide from the pit in her stomach? How easy it would be to wrap herself in its arms and shield her eyes from reason. The pit beckons, offering a blindfold. Her fingers fumble for it, brushing her heartstrings on accident. Her heart lurches inside her chest. Save your vision, it seems to whisper. You see more than most. I can't see anything but this table, and this desk, and this pen, and this paper, she tells her heart. Your eyes will adjust to the dark. Give it time. All she can do is scribble furiously until the ink covers the page with a glossy film and stains the side of her hand when she accidentally brushes against it. What is she missing? Why wouldn't her eyes adjust? The words can only joust with her thoughts for so long, their swords growing dull as the day presses on. She senses that familiar feeling creeping into her chest, infecting the bronchioles, squeezing her lungs tight. She chokes on dust dry with doubt, coughing up excuses to hate herself even more than she already does. Give it time, her heart urges, desperately cycling the last drops of unpoisoned air. But she can't breathe. Her hands grasp her throat, hoping a hug will soothe the pain. But the veins do not loosen. She's drowning in stale air that no chapstick would have a chance at remoisturizing. She grips the edges of the desk, pushing herself out of her chair and into the wet air of the world. Her eyes flick open. Water warm and loving caresses her face and fills her lungs, hydration dispelling disease. She lets her heart slow for a minute, waits for the cells of her skin to stop vibrating, then grabs her notebook and stuffs it in her back pocket. The door's hinges creak when she shuts it behind her. Outside, the sun smiles from behind a cloud, tiny rainbow dewdrops tumbling out of the sky. And when it spreads its arms wide, she spreads hers out wider, stretching endlessly on towards some inevitable possibility. Thank you.
Millie, that was absolutely gorgeous. That was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm sure it's a familiar sentiment too. There were so many memorable lines, and you really were able to get at that really strange, what it feels like to inhabit that strange sort of mindset. Gorgeous. So glad you read that. Thank you. All right. And I'm sure definitely check in on the chat because people were very active during that reading. So I want to make sure you see all of the lines that really struck them. All right. Now we have our fourth reader, Olivia. Are you ready? Olivia is also a teen fellow, and I'm also lucky enough to teach her. Take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm lucky to have you as a teacher. Okay, so I will be reading a short story. It was just fun to write, and I think it has an underlying message that hopefully you will hear. If you don't, that's okay. It's just fun. It's titled, Yet She Has Power. The cart rolled with inconsistent burst as we strolled down the aisle of the red and white store. Maggie loves to drag me to Target with her dad's wallet and her mom's belt. She was sort of a kleptomaniac, the way she frivolously took money from her parents as if it fell from the sky. Her crooked white teeth exhibited a smile when she stomped into the store. Her socks rarely ever matched, and worse, she wore them with flip-flops. The maternal belt hung from her girlish hips, and the borrowed keys dangle around her neck. Maggie has had those flip-flops since what seems like forever. Seeing them reminded me of the dreadful summers by the pool down the street, where we first learned how to dive and how she exceptionally loved her bikini. Thinking the elder lifeguards were looking at us at the age of 12, I would mope in a cloud of raindrops while she basked in oblivious glory. Now we're 17, and she rambles about the brink of new life. Tumbling blindly, she gropes for a desirable life, anything outside of this small town. The small town where billowing trucks plow down the single interstate, where reckless mothers lose their elastic reins on children with eloped hearts, where the closest thing to the magical Disney World was the dimly lit Target with wheel-abused tiles. I wanted to escape the confines of the limits, but unlike Maggie, I am realistic. She's ditzy, I am practical. She consumes lies like candy while I refuse to get a cavity. She smells like baby oil in the summer and enticing peppermint in the winter, fruit flies surrounding her. I smell like, well, I smell like clammy palms and worn out cotton. It was annoying how fantastical she could be, randomizing her dreams like a deck of cards. God always seemed to deal her the best hand. He blessed Maggie with golden curls spilling over her shoulders like waterfalls, and legs model-esque in nature. He damned me with stubby limbs and stubborn ash hair, mournful in reality. Sure, I want to be desirable like the promiscuously plump pears that strung along the branches of attraction. And I imagine the tainted blush of an autumn sky to fall on my cheeks when he looks at me. But fleeting are wants that are temporary and tainted. Every girl has pictured themselves as a princess in their own magical kingdom. And it is true, I was there once also. I would dream of a heroic prince floating on a robust steed to save the delicate glass structure of my heart. He'd scoop me into the metal casket of his arms, and I'd be protected as the glittering stars enveloped us. But I awoke after that prince lifted up my skirt in retribution for his saviority, and expected more from the young girl trapped in the illusion. I watched from the sidelines as Maggie balanced her way across the thin line, chancing the plummet that was, in my mind, inevitable. She likes to bite into fruits of temptation and dance alongside the animals with hungry eyes. The blossoming flower petals lured her in, disguising the malicious insects swarming around in hopes of a sting. We lived in a jungle miraged as a secret garden. Little girls go missing in this nursery, only for broken women to come out disillusioned. When will Maggie learn? Why must she suffer in order to face realness? Yet, her ignorance seems a godsend compared to the burdens that laid in my shoulders. She's able to boisterously laugh in the aisles of the store as I merely stood in her shade, tugging on the cart with the broken wheels. Her ballerina twirls in the flip-flops I hated forced me to glance at the eyes following our every move.
That was so great, Olivia. Wow, I'm blown away by everything that's been read. That was incredible. Really descriptive and such strong imagery. Really, really, really excellent. And like in the other readings, how you read it just did so much to energize the work. And I should say to all of the people who are sitting in, we didn't practice reading at all. I really just sprung this on them. So bravo. Excellent work, Olivia. Thank you so much. All right. Moving on, for our fifth is Lincoln, who I'm also lucky enough to teach. Lincoln is excellent. He's the youngest student in my Saturday class, but you wouldn't know it by the work he submits because he can totally hang with the rest of them. And I've just been really, really impressed, and it's been really fun to teach him. So take it away, Lincoln.
Okay. Mine is going to be a little bit different than everybody else's.
Different's great. That's what we need. We need variety.
Yeah, but so this first thing I'm going to read is the longest, and it's called 4520 Penn Drive. There was a party at 4520 Penn Drive. There was always a party at 4520 Penn Drive. Literally every night, people would go to 4520 Penn Drive and do some outrageous things. If you walked in there, you would see the usual cast of characters for a party on Penn Drive. Like Uno Dan, he always wanted to play Uno with you, literally no matter what. Super Mark, his name was Mark, he was always wearing a Superman costume. Then Dave, the guy's name is Dave, there's a whole shtick, he's always like, hey, I'm Dave, and then people go crazy. What can I say, it's a cool gimmick, but then you get to the 4520 only people, like Donald McDonald. He's always in a Ronald McDonald costume, but he wears it upside down. I still don't know how he did that. Then there's Egg Johnson. He makes really good eggs, but no one knows his real name. One day he just appeared on 4520 Penn Drive and has making eggs ever since. Then you got Giardia John. He has a lot of diseases and he spits in people's drinks and says he's spreading his gift. He's kind of freaky, but he thinks he's doing good work, so I feel bad when people beat him up. Last night, I went to 4520 Penn Drive for research and saw a strange scene. First thing I saw was Supermark jumping off of a table trying to prove he could fly. Then Donald McDonald came out of nowhere and punted him in the head. He continued to kick his unconscious body just again and again, and everybody was just standing there like this was normal. Then Dave came in there and said those iconic words, "Hey, I'm Dave," and everybody dropped everything and started cheering. At first, I thought this was weird, but to be honest with you, by the end, I was cheering just as loud as everybody else. Even the incredibly injured Supermark started cheering, and he fist bumped Donald McDonald. Then Giardia John made a horrible mistake. He spit in Dave's drink. If this was anybody else, these people would be totally fine with John spitting in a drink. They were desensitized and at this point probably immune. But Dave, no, they weren't going to let him disrespect Dave. Everybody in 4520 Penn Drive started attacking John. It spilled to the outside of the house. Donald McDonald hit him with a lawn chair. Egg Johnson pelted him with eggs. And Supermark jumped off the roof and tackled him. It was crazy. The ambulance showed up. John was loaded onto a stretcher, and everybody started to realize what they had done. It was just a sad moment. People started crying. I mean, Giardia John could have died. Then Uno Dan walked out and asked everybody, "Want to play Uno?" Okay, so that was the first one. And then this next one I'm going to read to you is called Charles Davis Gregory Jr. This one's a bit shorter. A man named Charles Davis Gregory Jr. was a businessman with an incredibly boring life, no friends, no family. But one day things changed for Charles. Charles walked into the break room at his job at a banana selling nonprofit, or at least that's what his boss called it. It really wasn't one at all. He was just avoiding taxes. And he's good at his job, but not good enough to really be important. Anyway, his office has a massive plate of bananas just sitting in the middle of the break room. And I mean massive. Charles was in awe. There was like 4,000 bananas on this plate. People were pressing themselves against the wall just to get around the bananas. And anyways, Charles is about to grab a banana to eat, but his boss, George Fingers, slaps it out of his hand and starts making monkey noises and talking about lizard people. Charles then kills his boss and proceeds to eat all of the bananas, all 4,000 bananas scooped into his mouth, peel and all, and it took 7 hours. But in the end, he died. Okay, that was the second one. This third one I'm about to read is called pen tapping. Okay. A man sits at his desk, his pen tapping on said desk. His coworkers absolutely despised him for tapping on his desk and tapping on his desk alone. Otherwise, he was a rather swell guy, but he became the most hated of the office solely when tapping his pen. People would falsely report him to HR just to try and get him fired. People had broken his pens to get him to stop, but he always had another, and people had broken his desk, but he always found something else to tap his pen on. He somehow didn't know people hated him. People would attack him or yell at him, and he was still totally oblivious to their hatred. Even the boss hated him, but the guy was incredible at his job. He was the best yarn salesman in the world. 17 people had quit because of the man's tapping. 17 people had quit in the last 20 years. 17 people had been arrested for trying to kill him, but they sadly never could. Okay, that was the last one.
No, I wanted to go on. I was laughing so hard. Lincoln is excellent, and I will say, being lucky enough to have him in the Saturday class, just we're always laughing at his work, and a lot of these characters and situations were familiar. So it was great to see them refined into these nice little vignettes. And one thing, Lincoln does a lot of things well, but you use repetition so well, and it really like it does so much to add to the comedic effect and actually being, I mean, it's funny on the page too, because I have read it on the page, but to actually be able to hear it, it just adds, it just makes it that much funnier. So great, Lincoln. Thank you so much. That was really excellent. Okay, perfect. So now we are going to move on to Sydney, if you're ready.
Okay.
Okay,
Hi.
great.
I think I'm going to read what I actually submitted for the workshop for this Saturday.
That's
So it's a little
perfect.
okay. I'm a little nervous right now, so sorry if I like stumble or something. Okay, hope you guys enjoy. I titled it Finale, and okay. Who would have thought that it would be so beautiful? I give a weak laugh in response. How typical. It's the end of the world, yet you still can see the beauty in it. See? You raise a finger pointing to the sky beyond us. It's true, it really is a sight. Blues deeper than the bottom of the ocean, reds brighter than roses, and ghostly purples in between, all swirling around us, all surrounding us, all engulfing us. The ending to the story is in the distance, turning the sky into a deep scarlet, and it rapidly approaches, leaving a faint warmth on my skin. Blood of a similar color pools around us, our wounds refusing to heal like they always did before. We never really did stand a chance. The end is coming. Are you scared? Is all I can say, my voice small amidst the chaos. Yes, you respond honestly, but there's not much we can do now, is there? I guess not. My vision grows fuzzier, the lights grow brighter. I try bringing myself to move, to stand, to do something to no avail. I guess it hadn't really sunk in that I was dying, even though I knew I had failed. We were dying, we had failed. Dying before the world we had fought so hard to save, but just couldn't. How could they ever expect us to succeed? We were just kids after all, kids chosen for an impossible task. We were just kids. I shiver despite the warmth and fall back to the ground. The end is coming. What about you? Are you scared? You ask. How could I not be? My gaze leaves the horizon, and instead I turn to you. But I guess part of me finds it comforting to know that this wasn't our fault. We did everything we could do. The lights swirl faster. The warmth begins to become unbearable. I can't feel my limbs. The end is coming. I'm not ready. The air feels thicker, impossible to breathe in. My entire body is numb. I can just barely make you out amongst the ashes and dust of our own demise. Me neither, but at least it's beautiful, right? I take your trembling, bloodied hands in mine. The end is here, yes, but because I'm with you, I'll be okay.
Sydney, I can't believe you were nervous to read that. That was incredible. That was so incredible. And now, unfortunately for you, I know we only have one class left, but I'm going to give you a hard time about sharing your work after exercises now. That was if you can see Ian's nodding enthusiastically. You can't keep your work from us. It's not fair. That was gorgeous. Thank you so much. And again, just as like in the other, just with the other readers, your voice and how you presented it did so much to enhance your work. So really excellent job. Super impressive. Okay, now I have this written down. I'm not sure if you're ready, but Jacob, do you want to go next? Lucky number 7.
Sure, I can go
Woo-hoo!
next.
I'm also lucky enough to teach Jacob, and he's great. So take it away.
All right, so I have 3. I don't really know what I'd call them. I don't know if they're poetry, prose poetry. I don't know what label they have
Whatever
other
you
than,
want.
other
That's
than the fact that I just wrote them while listening to a song. So I'll just see how they go. These are also the pieces I submitted to the anthology that's being published under the fellowship thing. So if they were good enough to get accepted into the anthology, I'm hoping they'll still hit here. All right, so the first one is called White Cliff Wishes. Of all the places I thought I would take my last breath, it was the soft grass that greeted me this time. No longer covered in the stains of blood or the broken bones of men, it was as green as the forest it covered. New, innocent. It hadn't been touched yet, though in time it would. It would learn about the hardships of life, just like the fields that sat only a mile to its north, where men were learning what pain felt like, what honor tasted like, what bravery looked like. And so I rested against the tree, my body slowly failing as the hole in my chest continued to seep all the life I had away into the ground, into the forest, covering the green with red. But as I laid there, it was not fear I felt, nor death I saw, but her and all her smiles and great joys. It was her green eyes and freckled skin that were my comfort. Behind me, the captain came, and on one knee he rested beside me, watching the chaos. You did good, he told me. Because of you, little boys and girls will never need to know of the pain that is war. And I nodded. With my feeble lips and parched throat, I begged on one last request. Would you tell her I wasn't scared? The captain nodded. And it was that, his promise well kept, which allowed me peace. And I drifted off to the blue sea, untouched and pretty as the spring breeze. All right, so that was White Cliff Wishes. The next one is called And So He Rested at Last. The knight gasped as the cold blade slid through the chunks in his armor and out the front. The blade tip covered in red as it stole what life he had left. He gasped, but he was not surprised. He had expected it, promised it as he had spoken to the captain. Go without me. I will hold them off. He had stood at the gates, only he and his sword against an army. But that was all that was needed. His sacrifice, his promise, and it had saved a kingdom, slowing down the advance enough for them to escape. He would never see it, never know what he had done, but it had mattered all the same. He fell to his knees, swords slipping from his hands as they went numb, cold. Pain laced up his legs as they collapsed to the ground, but he felt nothing. He was only looking at the ground, at the small white flower that rose from the bodies he had slain, killed to defend them, defend her, because she had always loved white flowers. And now she was safe, and he was not afraid, because he knew she breathed, he knew she was safe. There will be generations because of you, she had said, hand on her stomach like she was cradling the earth itself. His vision darkened as the blood dripped from his visor, small little red droplets staining the white of the flower. And he smiled, hidden under all the armor. And somewhere, far away in a safer place, a woman smiled as well, dripping down her cheek a single tear. All right, so that was that one. And the last one I have is A Soldier's Heart. The soldier's heart, beating because it has a job, a promise, to defend its country, its people, to raise a sword against the people who wish to do them harm, to stop those who wish to do their families harm, filled with undying loyalty to their cause, undying bravery to the end, because by their swords do they fight, and by their sword will they end. But the soldier's heart does not falter, even as he sees the blood of his brothers reflect in the ground he runs on, or stains the clothes he wears, because he knows they have soldiers' hearts too. And he knows they went down doing their duty, keeping their promise. And he knows they were not scared, because how can you be fearful when you are dying so that which you love can live? Because they know the gravity of their call, the answer to which only the bravest will give, because they have soldiers' hearts, and they will beat until the day they fall. That's it.
Wow, that was incredible. Obviously familiar to me, but I just want, for those who obviously don't know Jacob's work as well as I do, I just want to note his versatility, because he's able to write that, what you just heard, luminous, gorgeous, and also he can write like a high stakes action scene, point by point. So to have that sort of versatility and range is really impressive. I know I don't have it at all. Really well done. Excellent, excellent work. And again, great reading. We didn't even practice this, and you all are just incredible. So well done. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so our next reader is also fellow, also in my class. She's great. I hope she's ready. Evie, are you ready? Evie, Evelyn, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm going to be reading two poems. They are unexpectedly dark. Did not mean for them
I
to
love
be.
unexpectedly dark. That's what I'm looking for during a reading, so don't worry.
So The first one is called Reality of Neverland. It's from like a prompt that we did in a sprint or something with that. So here it is. There once was a land full of lush and green, and mountains so high they could never fully be seen. And the waters below glittered with mermaids and starfish. Oh, what beautiful ocean that lays amidst. And the children that came, who wore the animal skins, and stared at the stars with everlasting wits. But then the dark came in, and the pirates came back, and trickled their whispers behind the children's back. You know this isn't real, and Peter Pan can't save you. Come back with us, and let the real world set in. The children covered their ears, buzz of cotton trees, but the whispers never really left or went away with ease. So the wrinkles came in, and the stars disappeared, and even the earth grew beyond its years. So that's the first one. And then my second one, I don't really have a title for this, but the overall thought of this was, what if Glinda from The Wizard of Oz was evil? So here's this. Glinda, the survivor of Oz, with fairy floss laces dancing along her dress and pink sparkles coming out of her fingertips. You think there would have been more that she could have done to save them. Glinda, the one who got away from the guilt and the pain, but the feeling stayed, picture after picture, Dorothy drowning, the straw man screaming, the tin man pleading, for what could she have done? Glinda, the witch that stayed put, doing it again and again, her feet planting in the ground, frozen in time because she was longing for hope. Glinda, watching it all unfold, heartache after heartbreak, she tried to move, but the shoes were right there on the feet of her deceased friend, and once it was over, she stared at her hand. Glinda, the witch that turned green with what is called envy, of the little girl who didn't earn her place in this history. For the shoes could have been hers and only hers to keep. Glinda, holding the sequin shoes in her hand, cherrywood magic glistening off its sparkle, overwhelming sense of joy, for Dorothy wasn't the only one from Kansas. Glinda, the survivor of Oz, the true wicked witch of the West, and finally gets to go home. That's it.
I love that reinvention. That was so excellent, Evie. Amazing. And as always, I'm so stunned at just the gift you have for lyricism and rhyming and being able to pull that off without it feeling contrived. When I try and rhyme, it's pretty bad. So incredible. Really, really amazing work. Thank you so much for reading those pieces. And yeah, we'll have to hear those and read those again. Yes, I agree, Olivia. She does make it look very easy. Okay, Ian is also in my class. He's excellent. Are you ready, Ian? I hope he is. Take it away.
I'm ready. You can hear me, right?
Loud and clear.
Excellent. So I'm going to be reading two poems, and then they're both very short, and I'm going to read like a short story kind of monologue type thing. So the first poem. On the day you fell through a cloud. I have never loved, and thus I have never lost. But I think love is a zero-sum game, where the point is to lose, and by losing, win. I hope you won on the day you fell through a cloud. A stone fell into the water like it was dropped, but who dropped it? Was it you? It didn't splash, instead sinking down out of sight like a stone should. I fell like a stone when you dropped me on the day you fell through a cloud. One day I will sit alone with you in the peeling paint walls. I will ask you what happened on the day you fell through a cloud, and I realized what it meant to have lost and what it meant to have loved on the day you fell through a cloud. So that's the first poem. The second poem is titled Dancing on Strings. And this is something that I wrote in one of the sprints that we did. I felt your warmth and it woke me in the cloth, hearing your rustles as you found me among satin Everest mountaintops, you the climber and I the summit, white caps in the summer moon. And we danced like marionettes, strings tied to the primal rhythm of the ages. Ice cold margarita wildness, heartbeats synced, seeing the white teeth of your smirk, tasting the salt on your skin, under the summer moon smelling your cinnamon perfume, as we entwined to the song of the world far below, self-exiled under dim shadows and kerosene lanterns, puppet strings and all. Finally, the monologue or short story, which is entirely different than either of those two. I should say it. Say something, anything. They know already. It's all stacked against me. They must know. They know already. No, they can't. We were too subtle, too smart. Yes, 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 too smart to be found out. How could they not know? I'm not that smart. The police, they are smart. Yes, yes. No. But the blood and the shovel, dirty, crusty shovel, not our shovel. No, not our blood either. Jail, yes, or worse, you know. The chair. Yes, the chair. I will sit in the chair and it will smell like burnt flesh and I will smell too. There is a way out. They'll never see it. Because we are too smart for them. Yes, yes. Won't. No burnt pork, burnt meat, burnt flesh on us, no. Yes, we will. I must tell them. What about the bars and the keys and the soap? Does that mean nothing? It is better than the chair and I mustn't sit in the chair. I've decided to take the soap and the keys and the itchy, scratchy, biting bars. Yes, yes. To spare me from the chair.
Ian, incredible. And again, I'm stunned by the range that you were able to do both of those things so well. Really, really beautiful and frightening work. I love it. Excellent. So glad that you gave us a little bit of a taste of both. Really excellent work. Thank you so much. And by the way, I need a copy of that so I can read it, because I've only heard it and I need to read it now. Okay, great. So now have Yayra up. Also, Yayra is in my class, lucky enough to teach her. She's incredible. Take it away.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to read is called The Fruit of Chaos, the Fruit of Peace. Tracy is a hero and I villain. Tracy gets all the love, the glory, the attention. Tracy is a light brought to earth, the gods, they say. Tracy is caring, compassionate, and cordial, they say. Tracy is me, but without the element of me. Tracy can fall graciously to the ground before me. Tracy can fall and maybe break a limb or three. Tracy can break 3 limbs and sink into the ground, be devoured by the creatures that live underground, to ground by the teeth of the beasts locked away for their tragic needs. Tracy is goddess of light, of love, and peace, and I am a pawn of chaos. Deanne is a hero, and I a villain. Deanne is never seen for who she truly is, but I see everything. Deanne is a darkness that shall remain forever in corners, they say. Deanne is destructive, manipulative, and a foreigner, they say. Deanne is me, but without the element of me. Deanne can fall graciously to the ground and rise with ease. Deanne can rise with ease with the voice, eyes, and personality of a queen. Deanne is a hidden queen hurting to be accepted by society. Hurting to be granted the love that I have failed to give entirely, hurting to be brought out of my wretched shadow to stand by my side equally. Tian is not a goddess of dark, of hate, or chaos, and I shall bring to her sights of peace. And this next one is called Lo Siento. It's been 5 years since we met in the back of Spanish class. 4 years since I last hugged you. 3 years I hurt you. 2 years ago you left me, and last year you came back, but that wasn't for me. I miss the way your eyes kissed mine. I miss the truth you got into all the time. I remember how bad I tore your heart, and I remember how badly tearing your heart tore me apart. I remember your cold-heartedness when you passed me by. I remember giving you all of me and you shattered him. You tore me. But I miss your enchanting smile and the sweetness of your presence. I miss how you were the only girl that made me feel the way I did. Last year, I came back after finally paying a price for the mistake I made a year before that at my friend's advice. Who could forget how you crushed my heart in your teeth 2 years ago? But then again, 4 years ago, your presence made my heart float. I can't believe it's been 5 years at the back of Spanish class. And this last poem is called See You Smile. Oh my, I never meant to keep you up at night, lying awake, thinking about this life. I didn't want the sickness of my presence to contaminate the wellness of your conscience. We share the same feelings. I like the way them all the way. But this parasitical relationship isn't healthy for the life you want to live. I'm sorry for the pain that I've caused. I apologize for the pain I feel. Your success means more to me than I ever will. This is goodbye, but it's not forever. You'll always have my love through all the weathers. You'll have all my support above the others. And though the pain continues, and though the pain goes on for miles and miles, I'd hide it all just to see you smile.
That was so sweet. That was incredible. So incredible, Yayra. Amazing, amazing. So great. Oh, you're frozen, unfortunately, but I'm blown away. But like, just incredible. I forgot to comment in the chat because I just got totally sunk into the little worlds you built. So awesome work. And again, blown away by the reading from all of you. We didn't practice this at all, and each one of you showed up, came, delivered. We are going to move on to our last reader, our grand finale. But before I do that, I just want to make sure I dropped into the chat window our classes for the summer. So take a look at them. If you scroll down to the bottom, it's youth and teens. I know a lot of you are fellows, but for those of you who aren't and want to join us again this summer, the Saturday level 2 class will be the fellow class of the same group, and it will be great. And we're going to focus mainly on feedback. And I'm also going to drop in my email in the chat in case anyone has any questions for me about the Muse classes, etc. But enough about that. Let's move on to our last reader, Yunseo. Woohoo! Also lucky enough to teach her, and she's incredible.
Hi, I'm going to be reading my, I guess, prose poem titled The Sun Is Not Kind. It's still slightly a work in progress, but yeah. When summer comes, it brings a sickly sweet yellow that sticks to the back of your tongue. It seeps through the ceiling and into the floor. The sun burns brighter and brighter every day. Like she wants to make our lungs explode into flames to have just a minute of peace. Like she wants to shove us down her 27 million degree throat to keep us quiet. The ozone layer never stood a chance, not against the sun, not against its own people who built buildings to scrape the sky and screamed when we wanted more. Really, I think the universe tired of us. The Earth stopped spinning and March hasn't budged in its orbit in months. We never stood a chance. Maybe, when all of this is over, we can be a little bit more careful. We can try again, let the flowers grow back and wait for the stars to return. We can do it right this time, hold hands, speak softly. And when we pass each other strawberries in the cafeteria, I won't miss a second of your unmasked smile. But I know this is just wishful thinking. It's too late to change the past. Still, when we die, maybe we can do it together. Maybe we can move to Mars, sitting too close for comfort, but close just because we can, in the spaceship that'll rip us from this life and take us to another. Your warmth will bleed into mine, thigh to thigh, and denim against denim, and I'll die happy. Maybe this was the plan all along. When the sun rises, she opens the door to a house that hasn't breathed in months. Maybe not ever. It sees a girl splayed awkwardly at the bottom of the stairs, choking on her maybes. It takes one look and walks out, stoic. In her defense, this is how it's always been. There is no other version of this story. I wish life was kinder. I wish summer would have offered a helping hand, smiled soft and warm instead of turning on its heel. Maybe it does in another life, in a past life. I hope it does. I hope it did. There's a boy, and there is a girl. He likes her more than the summer heat, and the sun shines happily on them, kind and not jealous. He would do anything for her, I'm sure. Their high school sweethearts had a making out under the bleachers kind of love that made everybody jealous. Then they were college sweethearts, then both doctors. Now they live on Main Street with 2.5 kids and a golden retriever. When they die, it'll be within a day of each other. The sun will mourn their bodies and celebrate their souls. A plane shakes in the sky halfway between Seattle and Singapore. The pilot comes on the intercom and says, "The turbulence wasn't forecast. Apologies from the crew. It should be smooth sailing flying from here on out." The passengers laugh out of kindness. No one is angry. No one is in a hurry. This flight is about the journey, not about the destination. It's summer. I press the boom mic to my ribs, live stream my heartbeat. The neighborhood dances to it. I'm pulsing with sweet red blood, unafraid of life. You live in a 2-story house. It has a nice sized backyard, but not the big front porch you wanted. That's okay. This life is about compromises. But maybe you shouldn't have bought the house, excited because they sold it to you at $17,000 below market price. Maybe you shouldn't have compromised at all. Compromises brought us here. We were too happy in our past lives. We used up all our luck. Now the world is diseased, on fire, flooded, corrupted, and unkind. It has to be this way. That's how it works. We lay on my childhood bed, blankets tossed to the side to make room for the heat. You tell me that we're done for. I listen, wide-eyed, try not to believe you too much. When the sun sets, I look away. When the boy goes through life, he never meets the girl. He meets another boy, though, but all he ends up being is just someone else to watch him die. A plane flies off the edge of the earth and is never heard from again. When people need a distraction from the fire, they'll trade stories of what they think happened. I should tell someone I'm not afraid to die. You live in a 2-story house. It has a nice sized backyard, but not the big front porch you wanted. That's okay. There's no one to share it with anyway. The city makes a graveyard out of the public park. The sun doesn't bat an eye at the body bags. When summer comes, it brings death. The people are used to it, so they throw parties at the beach. I wish this life was kinder to us. I'm sorry. Sorry about my awkward knees in the doorway. Sorry about the mess in my room and at the bottom of the stairs. I'm sorry there's no Diet Coke. I didn't think that far ahead. Sorry about the sun dripping down the walls. I'm sorry that we ruined it all. Yep.
Wow, incredible. Just incredible. I know I've had the pleasure of seeing this work before, but I mean, obviously so much works there, but I think I'm sorry, I got distracted by the chat, but I think one of the things that works especially well is that blend of high and low. So we go into these really luminous places, but then we sink into the more pedestrian moments, like I forgot Diet Coke. I didn't think that far ahead. So just really, really great. All of you did such an amazing job tonight. Thank you so much for reading, and thank you so much to the people who joined us. If you guys have any friends or family who didn't get the chance to join us, there is going to be a playback link so they can go back and hear you read, or you can skip around and go back and watch yourself and cringe, as I always do, because I have such a hard time hearing myself read. But if you don't do that, if you decide to do that, don't be self-conscious about it, because I can confirm that you all crushed it and it was great. Really excellent work, excellent reading. Thank you so much. And I'll see I'll see you all on Saturday, right? For our last class before summer break. Oh my gosh, I'm sad. Okay. Thank you all. You have my email if you have any questions. That's obviously to all of you students, but also to any parents or friends who are joining us. Thank you so much. Have a great night.